right, so I'm turning the desktop volume up. I forgot to do that before the stream got started, and then that would have been bad because I've been doing Twitch streams. Anybody who wants to follow me on Twitch can do that at Insanity is Free. You can watch me play Sanic and other games. But like I just realized right when I started this shit that like the desktop audio was down to 75%. So we have fixed that problem. Probably say words. Somebody say I need a frustrated grunt. If that's correct. Okay, I didn't actually hear that. So do that again.
Chaos control.
Didn't actually hear that.
Right.
So do that again.
All right, cool.
Yeah, everything. So that's Kareem's frustrated grunt. That's somebody cuts him off in traffic, and he's like, eh. All right. Huh?
Hey, Jeremy. If Jeremy's like, hey, if the new Shadow's good, are you gonna praise capitalism and be like, man, my Sega overlords are great.
Kareem, actually, this is a good tie-in to something you've been like wordsing about lately because Sega of America is the first game company to actually unionize. So they've unionized, and that's part of the reason labor quality is increasing is because they can now make concrete demands to increase their standards of living. So it's actually a good point in the favor of non-capitalism, but yeah,
Robotnik's
no.
a capitalist.
You know, I don't even think that's true. Robotnik certainly does sell things, but he's mostly just taking. Like,
Isn't that what capitalists do?
if we're dealing with, well, I mean, they have to make something. The capitalists have to use the means of production for a purpose, at least.
Robotnik does that. He makes a bunch of robots for the war machine,
Yeah.
for the war
But he
complex.
doesn't necessarily sell them at all points. Like,
Fair.
if you want a capitalist, there's this I forget what his name is right now, but he runs an illegal underground Chow fighting thing, and he does that. He also there's this other guy named Mammoth Mogul who's a lot more like Trump, but I hope that Trump has his arc. Maybe he's going through the last part of the Mammoth Mogul arc now and realizing what he's done to the world and actually having some remorse. Nope. Sorry, I had to. Anyway, everybody introduce yourself. We'll start with Kareem. John.
Sonic is a Marxist.
No.
Because he's seizing the means of production.
No, if anything, he's more of like an anarchist synergist because he's working with all the people. But to be honest, like in the comics, he's like a monarchist for a significant period of the time. He's just like a not bad king. So you know, it's more for
angles.
No, but Kareem introduced John, Rose, and Dana.
All right, Sega's unionizing. Comrade Sega.
Yeah.
All right, I'm Kareem, Anarch Unity. Behind me, my favorite flavor is syndicalism, but you know they all pretty cool. And you can find me on Twitter saying crazy stuff, and on Anarch Unity and the Essential Libertarians. I'm an ACAT man. I'm an ACAT.
Still my title. I still snooze that from you.
John.
ACAPs can't seize. That's not good capitalism.
Hi, I'm John Ponte. I'm the chief editor. I'm John Ponte. I'm the chief editor of the Liberty Centuries.
The Liberty Centuries.
We've been doing. God damn it. We've been doing like recent reporting in
It was your
regards
big
to.
moment and it was ruined.
Yeah. So far, we've been doing reporting in regards to stuff happening with the Libertarian Party. We've recently published an article in regards to libertarians supporting Donald Trump. If you want to check us out, you can go to Medium or you can go to our Twitter at Liberty Centuries. We got interesting stuff there.
I think you should be the subject of NAP violations.
Yeah. That would be you know, terrible if somebody wished that and was like libertarian allegedly.
Well, now we're gonna have to talk about that later if need be. But
What? No, that's an original thought. Like,
Yeah.
I heard
right.
what you were doing, and it offended my internal sense of ethics that you would dare report on libertarian stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what is this? Some kind of transparent public organization?
Well, no, they don't like trans. So with
Right,
that,
Rose,
Especially transparent.
yeah. Well, no, those people need to move out of New Hampshire. Kaufman said so.
my God.
Yeah,
All
with
right, Rose, Rose, you want to introduce yourself more?
I think these people all pretty much know me by now. I'm Rose, the patron saint of real libertarians, the only real libertarian member of the LPNY. Let's see, what do? I'm State Committee, Communications Committee, New York Platform Committee, served my first term on National Platform Committee, and that's pretty much it for the moment.
Are you a platformist? I don't know what that is, but it's some left thingy.
Are you sure?
I'm just not going to answer that because
I don't know.
I don't honestly know.
It's a type of It's a type of anarchist federation.
Right. Yeah. Like, I know it's a thing, but like I can't quite remember what it is, so I'm not gonna say yes or no because I don't. Yeah.
It's the one where you wear those heels like Tim Curry.
I don't want to commit to a position on it just yet.
So, Dana.
Dana Carver in Michigan. I've done the Libertarian Party thing, all the things, been on the committees, never at the national level, run for office, done all this stuff, created an affiliate, been on the state board till I was kicked off. Well, I've been on it twice, but only got kicked off once, and I hold that banner high because, you know, to be removed from Andrew Chatterton's crap is probably an honor at this point. But I took a break from the party, then I had a relapse and came back. Not sure why, because it's even worse now. And it's more corrupt, and it's transparent is not a word they like, whether it's transparent or actual transparency. But yeah, so it's just so much mess going on, and I probably will go back to that eventually. But yeah, so
She's like, I gotta find a new hookup.
vigorous, I guess, would be the closest thing I am of anything. If you had to put me in a category, I just want to be left the fuck alone and do my thing.
Do your dang thing, do your thing, you thing, as that Gorillaz song goes. All right. So, with all that being said, let's start with some boring numbers. Let's go to John with the dry numbers report.
All right.
I want them numbers, Ben Shapiro.
All right, we got lots of numbers. We got loads of numbers. You want numbers? We got numbers. We got so many fucking numbers, I swear.
Because I think that's a good way to establish, like, the foundational baselines.
What kind of numbers you're looking for exactly? You want to talk about the most recent numbers, or you want to talk about earlier numbers?
Meth. But also earlier numbers. We'll start from as soon as you got them.
All right. Well, I gotta look a bit past my. Let's see. All right.
They're where they are.
They are where they are. So, water's good.
No, it's not. Yes. Drink water. Everybody hydrate now.
All right, hydration.
Yeah, but did you know that it can kill you? It's dangerous.
Yeah. I've heard people drowned it.
Yeah.
My water has hops in it.
And also, then like this time of year, the water turns into knives that fall through people's skulls.
Do you think imprims get mad if people filter their water? Like, what are you doing?
If they do, it'd be funny.
All right.
That'd be
So,
a very specific thing to get angry over.
Some unfiltered water once in a while keeps the immune.
What about green anarchists? They're like, why using water filtration?
Well, see, me personally, I'd be more sympathetic to water filtration in certain parts of the country. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, this water here in Spokane is fucking awesome. Like, they don't use fluoride. It's mostly like river run shit, and so it's coming down off the clear ass fucking like hills and shit. I sound like I'm talking about drugs, but it's water. I promise.
Yeah. RFK told Joe Rogan that they're
I
putting
don't think what
atrazine
that's
in the water.
the new street name for.
Yeah, right.
Well, if you live in the city, you probably really should filter your water. But like where I live in freaking Michigan, where like the water state, and everywhere you go, the water is clear. But up north, at least. But like our well is 295 foot down. I mean, so it is like it comes out cold, and it's the most wonderful water ever. Even when I went to DC, I took bottles of my water with me because I'm like, I don't want none of your shit.
Yeah, well, and first off, DC, that's a valid complaint, but also like here in Spokane, I'll tell you, you probably have very little problem with the water, like straight out the tap, unless somebody's got bad pipes or like they're Republican. John.
All right, numbers. All right, right.
Yeah,
okay.
We were vamping so that you could find them, nerd.
Well, I technically already found them, but anywho, so
well then why are we the slow ones?
We all know about joint fundraising agreement with the Kennedys, or one of the Kennedys. We had that started. The LNC joined that agreement sometime in August, I would say. So that's when the joint fundraising agreement basically kicked off. I don't remember exactly the time, but I think about that time. So, what was I saying? Words.
Numbers.
So, I went ahead, tried calculating some stuff in regards to August, September, and a bit first half of October regarding what was gained from the joint fundraising agreement. So, first thing, in August and September, generally it technically was a positive gain. Overall, they gained about over 560K from the joint fundraising agreement. The caveat to that is they are not good with money. Simply put, whatever the LNC is, they have not been very good with their money, because when calculating in the total receipts, total expenditures during those 2 months, and also including debt into that calculation, we find that August they have a net gain. They have a net gain about 84, almost 85,000. Net gain. So not bad. September we have a net loss, 844,000. So it's not the best. The net loss from throughout August and September was about almost $760,000. That's including debts. That's including expenditures and all that. So not the best look. It didn't really seem the joint fundraising agreement really helped them out there. Also doesn't help that in September they paid out of pocket about $40,000, like over $40,000. I think the exact number is $44,328.45 out of pocket for expenses in connection with the joint funding agreement with Kennedy. Granted, though, that's not as bad as what happened in October, at least so far.
Yeah, it could get worse.
It could get worse, and it did get worse. October, they, if I could find it, because I keep on getting my stuff lost.
It's where it is.
Okay, October. I didn't necessarily count I didn't count the total, let's see, did I count the total contributions? I'm not entirely sure. But I did count everything regarding the joint fundraising agreement, or just anything in connection with Robert Kennedy Jr.'s presidential election, or presidential candidacy. Freaking getting my words confused. Calculated all that shit, and they had a horrible loss. So they gained $404,195 from the beginning of October to midway. Not that bad for joint fundraising agreement. However, the debts that they have in connection with the joint fundraising agreement is about $119,654, which, okay, it's a lot, but it's not too bad. Then we get into coordinated expenditures. These expenditures basically go up to $725,971. So that leaves that when we're counting receipts, debts, and those expenditures, we have a net loss a net loss in connection with the joint fundraising agreement, or just in connection with Kennedy in general, a net loss of $441,431. If we're not counting debt, we have an out-of-pocket expenditure of $321,776. And in regards to that $725,000, that was paid on behalf of Robert Kennedy Jr. That was paid for expenses that he had for his candidacy stuff, his campaign, that the LNC decided to pay. It seems, as it said in the FEC filings, coordinated expenditure. If anyone wants to double check my numbers, you just go to the FEC filings for the Kennedy Victory Fund, and I have tweets if need be, like showing I posted my work on the official Liberty Centuries thing. So there's a lot of numbers there. I've been keeping track of it for the most part. One more thing to add. $25,000. That's how much a non-election related donation was made from the Kennedy Victory Fund to an organization called Rescue the West Incorporated. That's the official filing name for Rescue the Republic. Angela McArdle's organization that she helped co-found it.
Yeah, I can get the filing number too real quick here. So that people can look this up for themselves. I had to, I was committed enough to proving that this is real, that I gave the government of DC my home address and information so that I could, actually look up the filing number and shit. So I want everybody to know how deep my cock is in this meat. N00008119807.
Right. And so we have $25,000 in a non-election donation. This is, I'm assuming, being paid with contributions from supporters of Kennedy that were supposed to be going into the federal election, because as their disclaimer pointed on the official page for the Kennedy Victory Fund, contributions will be used in connection with the federal election. So there's a question of why did the Kennedy Victory Fund pay $25,000 as a non-election related donation to an organization that Angela McArdle, who's the chair of the LNC, is also the co-founder of, and who pushed for the Kennedy Victory to be part of the Kennedy Victory Fund? Why is it that the contributions from Kennedy supporters that were expressly meant to go to the federal election from their disclosure statement is going to a non-election related donation? It's a lot. It's interesting to think about. It's something to sit on and contemplate what in the world is going on.
After Angela McArdle over here fucking decided to email with the official LP resources with no disclosures or consent obtained about the KVF
from the rest of the LNC, from the rest of the Libertarian National Committee.
And then after that fundraising happened with the link that she promoted with the illegally with the LP allegedly email, she then used the email again to jack off the Rescue Republic thing after the funds had been transferred to her. So it was help fund KVF with resources, probably illegally, collect $25,000 from fundraiser that was illegally promoted, give the promote the thing again to fundraise more for another rally, make that rally fundraiser yourself, and still somehow don't have enough for the $2 million plus that the rally also cost. So it's like at least 2.025 million fucking dollars that was thrown at this fucking shit. And she's still in debt. Dana, you look like you've got words you want to words, but you're muted.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. I'm just thinking. Technically,
you've got your pen in your hand. You've got your pen in your hand. You're saying words. I'm gonna have to say dilatory. You look like you're in the meetings when you were getting kicked out. Go ahead. Yeah.
Point not well taken.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. Point not well taken. Okay, sorry. Yeah, because I was writing something down. Technically, I think that at least Kennedy will be in the clear on this one because I'm not sure it's legal the way Angela did it because of her being the LNC chair.
Conflict of interest.
Right, and with the Kennedy Victory Fund there. But if with him donating back to that Rescue the Republic thing, you have to remember what that was. I mean, the very sign said Maha.
Mm-hmm.
It was his organization. It was still his. He's still on the ballot, so that could be written as a campaign thing, and anything coming to it would be an in-kind donation, which is where Angela's probably going to get herself a little screwed there too, with the $2 million, because that was technically a Kennedy/Trump rally.
Yes,
That's fair. Trump. It was all about the Maha. So yes, Kennedy's probably in the clear there, but Angela's going to have a lot of explaining to do.
That would be fair if the official filings didn't say on the files, the CSV files, non-election. Now, I did try contacting the FEC a bit to ask in regards to that. One of the guys, a Mr. Martin, good guy, swell guy, he tried to help as best he can, but he couldn't really give any answers to the legal questions in regards to some of these things. So I'm still in the dark about that. I can't necessarily say anything in regards to whether the Kennedy Victory Fund violated federal law.
You're also in the dark
regarding election, regarding campaign disbursements. But whatever the case, it still at least shows for Angela McArdle there's some clear conflicts of interest, and there's some clear tomfuckery going on. Excuse my French.
Yeah, biggest issue is it's the LP bylaws are just vague enough that it technically, as far as we can tell, doesn't violate. It's just kind of within the bounds of what they can do, even though it clearly violates the spirit of the bylaws and of the LP's overall mission, which is what makes it frustrating for people who want the LP to actually support libertarian candidates.
Well, also you saw you've been paying enough attention to the Mises circles to know that they've been deleting tweets.
Yeah, from the 2020 through 2022.
And some from 24 where they're like, Trump is bad, now they're sucking him off, so they're like, Trump is awesome, and anything we said before was sorry, Daddy. So
yes, they've made it up to him, I'm sure.
Yeah, they let him grab him by the pussy. Anyway,
hopefully that's all they let him do. Anyway,
that would be connected with the Mises caucus, specifically their official FEC filing name as the Mises PAC or PAC, being now, at least according to the most recent Kennedy Victory Fund FEC filing of the Statement of Organization, October 25th this year, Mises caucus is officially a co-member, a co-committee on the joint fundraising agreement with the Kennedy Victory Fund.
I thought they already were, but that I might have just been thinking of the LNC as a whole because they're Mises controlled.
You might have been thinking about the LNC as a whole, but at least from what it seems from the FEC filings, they were not officially part of the Kennedy Victory Fund until October 25th.
Right. Okay.
Which segues into another thing in regards to another organization that became part of it, Libertarian Unity, what is it? I have no fucking clue. I wasn't able to find anything online about it, but from the FEC filings, they were founded on the 11th of October, and then on the 25th, they became part of the Kennedy Victory Fund. Their listed custodian and treasurer is Angela McArdle, and the address used for their office is an address somewhere in Texas, which, from what I remember, Angela McArdle lives in Texas. So we got another thing where there's this other organization, who the hell knows is going on with them and how exactly the funds that will go to them are being allocated to Angela McArdle.
And that totally doesn't sound like a shell organization. We would never say that.
I was gonna say, yeah, the Unity thing kind of appeared out of nowhere, because I heard a few references to it. I'm like, oh, is this a thing now? And where'd that come from? Yeah, they're not related to the Unity Caucus that theoretically has existed for years, but like most caucuses, didn't actually do anything. So, yeah. And the only unity they like, it's all about. It just seems to be like unity with like Republicans.
Yep.
Wow. Very exciting.
Yeah, like all the people who said that I was wrong about this be rolling in they non-graves. Like the thing. So okay. Real quick, first off, Kareem, you're like Kilroy down there at the bottom of the screen, like you got your nose coming up over it. Is there words you want, or words about words?
Yes. All right,
that was it. Go, sorry.
Yeah, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, go.
I'm the union leader.
Yeah, right. You just say yes. All right, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said a word. Go. As much as you want.
All right. So, I know that, I mean, it's not really a secret, like, that there's, I mean, Vivek came to the actual conference and said, let's have a libertarian
Nationalist Alliance, yeah.
Nationalist Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Which MAGA is basically nationalism anyway.
Yeah, basically.
So at least, like, the debate at least kind of highlighted the difference between the right-wing nationalists and libertarians, so I did at least appreciate the debate between him and Clint Russell at the convention.
Yeah, so there is a
now we're still apparently shilling for him for some reason.
Yeah, I don't hate Clint on principle. He has a lot of good positions. Now, I'm not here to be like, oh, I dislike this person, but
I am. Clint is bad. Go ahead.
He has some good takes on some things.
I don't hate Clint. I don't think Clint's bad actor.
Okay.
There's plenty of work, and even if you don't like him, there's plenty of actors who are way more malicious.
Well, as long as we agree that he's an actor. Go ahead.
Everybody's an actor. Anyway, the point is, Vivek's like, let's have a nationalist alliance. Now, I'm not against, like I said, you want to have a single issue coalition in your hometown, like, knock yourself out. I think, and I did that myself. I ran a school board with 2 Republicans and a Democrat. And I didn't win, but I learned a lot. So, okay, whatever. And I've been to Republican meetings. I've been to Democrat meetings. I didn't really particularly enjoy any of them. But I'll tell you this. That having a long-term alliance with statists is never going to work, because eventually what's going to happen is statists are going to want to centralize everything. They're going to want to use government for stuff, and then you'll be left holding that, like, well, I thought we, were on the same team. Yeah, but I want, my preferred guy wants to do this, this, and this. It doesn't make it any better that the previous regime was doing it with Democrats. That's why I joined Mises, because I said, you guys are working with Democrats, or being Democrat light. We can't have that. And now they're being Republican light. We can't have that. If we're going to have a party, we need to make it for libertarians. And if we want to work with other parties, I would suggest working with other third parties, because they're in the same boat as us. They're getting screwed by the same boat. And like, okay, even let's say Trump is completely different and he's, fighting the deep state and all this stuff. For the longest time, Republicans and Democrats, even when they're fighting, they don't really fight against each other. You can think of it, if you look at the psychology of apes, which Solins does a good job, and I would consider Solins like a Prim friendly anthropologist. I don't think he's an anarchist per se, but he's written a lot of good stuff, like the Zen Road to Affluence. If you see what chimps do, they fight each other fiercely. But when an outside group comes, they will all gang up. So essentially, Republicans and Democrats are like, we hate each other. There's a libertarian running in your county. Oh, there is? Send police after him, intimidate him. Like not even nice stuff. Like people have told me horror stories that GOP sent people to their house. So even giving the benefit of the doubt, Trump has all the good things everybody's ever said about him. There's still millions of GOP people. And I'm not saying there isn't some good people, just like truck drivers who just want to make a bunch of money and be cool. But there are a bunch of GOP people in school board, city council, state positions, federal positions who, if libertarians or greens or independents, I don't know even if the Constitution Party is still a thing. I think they are. Cornell's People Party, I don't know too much about them, but I think they can do something in the future. If they try to run, I guarantee you the two-party system will knock them down. So that's why I don't want an alliance, because these people, the majority of them, are opposed to our existence politically. They don't want us to do anything. They don't want any real change. And I'm sure the opposite exists on the other spectrum, where there's probably, I forget who told me this, but someone said Biden was so bad or Harris was so bad that people in, I don't know if it's DNC voters, because I didn't really look, are helping Jill Stein, and I can't confirm that, but I don't doubt it. I don't see why they would lie about that. So, but Democrats have screwed over the Greens pretty hard because they represent some actual change for people. The one time the Dems had a fake candidate, Bernie Sanders, who was trying to do populism, they knocked him down. And Republicans still don't like that either. So to me, I think it's very clear that we're not going to get anywhere by being nice to the two-party system. I don't think the two-party system has changed that much. I think Trump shook some things up, yes, but all the same neocons are still there. They're still there. Dan Crenshaw's still there. Lindsey Graham's still there. Haley, Mike Pompeo. Yeah, he said John Bolton was a mistake. Fine, but then he said Pompeo was a good dude. And then to Rogan, and he said some other guy was a good dude. Gina Haspel. I can keep going on. I can name a lot of them.
Yeah,
and
he hasn't learned anything.
Yeah, I don't think he has learned anything.
It's
It's going to be the same shit for a second term. Okay, but about the Libertarian Party working with, or not but libertarians, anarchists, whatever, in general, thinking that they can align themselves with statists who have a few talking points that make it sound like they're temporarily on the same page. Like, okay, how many times can people learn this lesson? Okay, you don't align with statists because they use you and then they quickly discard you the moment you stop being useful to them. Like,
yes,
the paleo strategy was not that long ago. And how many anarchists throughout history thought that they could temporarily ally with various forms of statists and it ended very badly for them? Like,
yeah,
look back at history. Okay, statists are not right-wing.
I'll tell you a story.
And left-wing statists are not your friends.
Well, real quick before Kareem, you say something, Dana?
Well, yeah, I'm like, let's just get into the big pundits that were. Okay, so Angela, of course, she's our chair. Blah blah blah. Mike Heiss, he thinks he's a big pundit. Dave Smith, Kurt Russell. I'm hearing over and over that they are anarchists all these years, right? They're ANCAPs, they're anarchists, right? Their dude that they're all proudly voting for very vocally and not our candidate wants to put people in jail for burning a piece of cloth that they bought.
Yeah.
For a year. He wants to execute drug dealers. He wants to kind of go to war with Mexico in a way. I mean,
Yeah, and then use that war as a pretext for a
He loved Fauci. Fauci was his boy.
Yeah.
Operation Warp Speed. We should shut down the country. I mean, this guy is against everything they want to do. But then we have this candidate that freaking is following the platform of the party. You know, why join a party? Why be part of a party if you don't like the fucking platform that's there? Or you haven't, you know, or even part of it. They seem to hate the whole damn thing lately.
That sounds like lawfare.
Like they're all saying Trump is so great and he's the best and you need to vote for him. But he's against all the things even you talked about on your podcast, dude. You know, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, but he's gonna free Ross and put a libertarian in his cabinet.
Yeah.
Right, free one dude.
He's gonna
but he
free
wants to
someone he
execute.
promised he'll execute.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
He's gonna free one dude that he has already said he doesn't really want to free. He'd rather be dead. And some libertarian on a candidate, and that is worth selling your fucking soul for. There's a reason this party was started. We were never supposed to win anything. We were just supposed to get the word out, get the platform out. And we got a dude trying to get that word out and trying to get that platform out. And they are fighting him tooth and nail every day that he's there.
And like the other
Right.
half.
But didn't you hear though? He's the the actual libertarian candidate is the reason why donations are down. Didn't you hear this?
Yeah, which is funny to me. But here's the problem I have with two things. One is you went to, like I saw Angela at Mar-a-Lago, you had him there. And to me, he wants the libertarian vote. So the ball is in your court. You can ask for anything you want. So to me, if I have the sale, like I've done remote closing, if that person really needs what I want, I can push out the thing. So if you really need my services, I'm not saying screw people over, but if you really need my services, I can make sure that the conditions are exactly what I want. So I get it. So to me, the libertarian position isn't just Ross, because we have Ross, Edward Snowden. I like Roger Ver. I interviewed Roger Ver back in my early crypto days. I credit a lot of my channel success to Roger Ver, what he taught me. Roger Ver has done some pretty good damage to the feds already. There's Daniel Hale. A lot of people don't know him. He was a drone operator who just said, I can't conscionably be okay with this.
Right.
And luckily he did not take the Aaron Bushnell route, but he's still there. I don't know what happened to Chelsea Manning, her or him.
Her.
I think I haven't heard from her in a while, but I mean she was pardoned by Obama. So
yeah, there's one
of the few things he did in like his last couple months in office.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things is that if somebody brings up that they're pardoning somebody who, like, you know, Trump may be pardoning somebody who didn't deserve to be pardoned. It's like you can say, well, yeah, sure did, so did Obama.
Yeah,
it's not a good argument.
All do things as like,
so did Obama, so did everybody does.
They all toss us a bill and they'll pardon somebody who has already been in prison.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be
no longer a threat.
I wouldn't be surprised if Biden pardoned some people just to save face. Oh, look.
Well, I mean, like with Assange, I mean, they didn't pardon him.
If he doesn't get lost on his way to the podium. So the general thing that, like, real quick, I need to express something here. Trump wants to execute drug dealers. He wants a day of violence, or maybe just an hour, depending on his mood. He wants to start concentration camps that are like labeled internment camps on the border. He wants to put homeless people and legal migrants in that using the Alien and Sedition Acts. He wants to do all of this while having like less ability for states to become sanctuaries for people who flout his policies. He wants to withhold FEMA funding, withhold federal disaster relief funding if your government does not comply with his orders. That's what he wants. He wants all this and more. He wants death squads who are okay with pursuing his interests to the point of criminalizing quite a bit of transgender activity, migrant activity, and a variety of other activity that's like minorities he can point to as the problem. Meanwhile, he's supposed to be the libertarian choice. He wants death squads. Like,
Yeah.
I wrote in an article that published before. It's a bit of a overused term nowadays, maybe, and like every libertarian, quote unquote libertarian who here both like. Let me rephrase because I go too fast and it like screws up my thinking.
Too fast? That's not real.
We have like the quote unquote libertarians, and then we have like the actual libertarians. They hear the word fascist, their eyes start rolling. I have no shame in like saying that Trump, if he is not fascist, he is definitely playing into fascistic tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that about anyone in office, though. So I mean,
that's fair. That's fair, but at least
yeah.
That's fair. That is fair, but and that's why I would say that for the most part, we have a society now that has gone down so fucking badly that it is a prime breeding ground for fascism in whatever forms. We have Kamala Harris, who's willing to play towards the more authoritarian aspects of republicanism in regards to like immigration control and the like. We have like
do not come. Do not come.
We have the general. We have like the general aspects of like societal control here. We have the general like fomenting of what we call conflicts between different ethnic groups that are different, like against minorities, whether it would be against trans people or whether it would be against like immigrants,
locking up minority families,
even against like freaking socialists or whatever. It all comes down to creating what amounts to prime grounds for the creation of a fascist movement. And at least with like the Republican Party, I haven't fully reviewed the Democratic Party's platform, but I have reviewed the Republican National Committee's platform that Trump agreed to and has linked on his campaign website. We have like similar economic ideas in regards to what would be called self-sufficiency in regards to protectionism, like tariffs and stuff, that were present in Nazi Germany. We have similar things about militarization and using industry to fund military. That was in the Republican National Committee platform. We have talk about utilizing creating jobs through the defense industry by upping the defense industry. Peace through strength and trying to be the most modern, the most strong military in the world. And again, of course, with the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, that is supposed to be done in response to either what is claimed as an invasion from a foreign nation or country, or in regards to a declaration of war. We have all these militaristic elements that were also found in Nazi Germany. We have these aspects in regards to prejudice against, specifically queer people, like trans people, which first book burnings was in regards to like
one of them.
Literature. One of the first book burnings in Nazi Germany had to do with like literature on the study of gender, including of transgender people. We have, of course, like the demonization of immigrants or demonization of like other people, like minority groups, hatred of that. I could probably go on like longer in regards to that, but like even if it's not like pure out Nazism, which you're not going to get Nazism in America again, that's just simply out of style. What was it? Thomas Mann, it was either Thomas Mann or someone else said that if fascism was ever to come to America, it would come in the name of freedom.
Right.
And
I thought that was misquoted. I might be wrong though.
I got it from like a book, so I might have, it could be a misquote. I don't fully remember. I could be wrong on that. I think still, at least when it comes to.
And of course, this is your friendly reminder to read Bertram Gross' Friendly Fascism.
Yeah, like Friendly Fascism. We have the whole thing where even in like Britain, we had the idea of like the British fascists, going for like the idea of freedom and advertising that like as if fascism will bring a sort of freedom. I don't know. It's a lot, definitely, but I think we are moving towards a point where we are going to lead to greater and greater, not just maybe an economically fascistic state, which one can make the argument that with how state capitalism is, or how the government is interrelated with all these industries, whether it be the military industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, all that kind of stuff, or whether it would be in regards to how they're like, hand in hand with certain corporations and the like. You have Trump being friends with Elon Musk. You have, Jeff Bezos, Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, all these millionaires lobbying Congress and all that. What we are inevitably going to move towards where if we don't have like some sort of fascistic state already, we will have more of a fascistic state in which it will not only be economically fascist, but it will become more politically fascist, more socially fascistic. And libertarians, at least the ones that are supporting Trump, don't fucking give a shit about it.
Right. And like Deera's in chat saying she doesn't care. Angela said it was all worth it. Yep.
Well, here's a
I
problem.
don't think they recognize it. Look, okay, what was I gonna say? So going back to the whole negotiations with Trump thing, in theory, okay, if libertarians are recognized as a significant voting bloc, like, for example, 3% of the voting population, I don't actually have a problem with trying to get concessions out of the two major parties. Like, I would be equally supportive if there was a faction of the party that was negotiating with the Biden, or now the Kamala campaign, to try to get concessions from them. So, again, I don't as angry as I was about the Trump invite to the national convention, I tried to stay open-minded about it. I'm like, okay, if this is what if we can get some concessions from him, and in return we have to let him address our convention and try to pander to us and get our votes, okay, I can live with that. However, there has to be a limit somewhere. I feel like you cross a line when you start openly fundraising and supporting said candidate.
Correct.
There has to be a line somewhere.
Well, here's the line. Here's the thing. He came to us. We have the power here. He came to us. He said, "I want your vote." So he's in our court. So what Angela, if I was Angela, I would have said, "Okay, Ross isn't good enough. You say you're a and he said he's a libertarian to us. So I said, "All right, you say you're a libertarian. Here's a libertarian position. You end the drug war. You don't just release one person. There are hundreds of thousands of people in jail for victimless crimes, and not even the drug war. I'd say we're going to end all victimless crimes. Right. You have the power to do that. Let's do that." And then I would even push it further. We're going to get out of NATO, not NATO pay us, not do some finagling, and we're going to end all arms to Israel. And we're going to also end this, and this. We're going to end income tax. We're going to end the Fed. If we don't get these things, I can't give you the vote. Now, he wants that vote.
I agree, but that's not realistic.
It's not realistic, but I would actually push.
You start small, okay, free all non-violent drug offenders, for example.
That's a good start.
Abolish the DO. Abolish the DO.
You have the potential president.
I want to see all three other agencies abolished, but realistically, okay, the CIA is not going to go anywhere, because anyone who tries that will wind up committing suicide through 2 shots to the back of the head or whatever. Something mysteriously bad will happen to them. So
they did figure out time travel, so that's kind of cool. And then they're helping me make it.
I'm just saying, you start small-ish with your requests, but again, I was never opposed to wielding our power, wielding the party status as a potential spoiler party, or just as a significant voting bloc to get concessions of the two major parties, because obviously, realistically, one of them is going to win. It's just that there has to be a limit on how much we can do to support them. Inviting them to address the convention is one thing. Okay, I could probably live with that. Openly fundraising and supporting is kind of something else entirely.
And making propaganda content and blocking and banning people who have a problem with it, and like directly supporting like positions that are then opposed later. Like the dissident media thing is such a fucking joke. Michael Heiss rebranding his own personal Twitter account, DFEing his tweets because like it would be too obvious if you didn't. Taking the fact that so this is okay. So here's the thing. Let me just briefly vamp here. Michael Heiss is the reason I am subbed to the Wreck the Regime newsletter on Substack. Michael Heiss jacked the Mises Caucus email list, which I was a member of, because I was originally a supporter of the idea, at least in theory.
I'm still a supporter of the idea.
So the Mises Caucus newsletter list was made. I was in it, and he then when they were picking their candidate, there was a bunch of discussion, and you know, at the time I was like, yeah, maybe Dave Smith might be an interesting choice. Now at this point, I'm pretty firmly in the, you know, also against Dave Smith camp, but that's another story. But the general thing is, like, when it comes down to it, the Mises Caucus decided on Michael Rechtenwald when there were other, like, better options available. And, like, the one that they were going to go with dropped out because of family issues. And that's, you know, totally fair. I think his daughter was sick, if I remember correctly. But, like, the general thing is, like, I'm subscribed to the Mises list. He jacks those letter list things, and immediately, like, when a bunch of people were like, no, they can't just decide that Rechtenwald will be the choice. They've got to ask the Mises Caucus. Isn't this a group decision? And then it's like, no, bitch, it ain't a group decision. It's his decision. And then I'm immediately subbed to the Wreck the Regime newsletter, and I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. And then the Wreck the Regime newsletter, which was an official LP, like, documentation, when he fucking lost because of his choices, not the Jews, not the wokes, not the left, he fucked up and he lost because he got fucked up.
The elites in Congress?
Yeah, no.
The deep.
And so he lost, and then Michael Heiss, or whoever was running the Wreck the Regime newsletter, which already stole my information once, like, gave it to him to make his Substack list, which he then used to promote his personal courses. So this is what I'm saying. Like, the Libertarian Party is a giant social club. They're not interested in actual, like, politicking. They're not interested in winning. They're not interested in advancing a libertarian. They're interested in sucking enough cocks that when they finally get, like, their book deals or their, you know, their podcast or their, you know, their vlog series or their courses or their whatever, they can sign people up for that. They'll be like, you know, yeah, I'm going to make my money after this and tell you how bad the state is that I did nothing to stop.
All right.
And then,
why
like,
are you kink shaming them?
right?
Jeez.
And so the general reason I'm bringing all that up is because Michael Heiss did the same shit with the Dissident Media page. And the Dissident Media page is his Twitter, and also a terrible website that isn't even properly set up yet. And you know, as resident web guy, if you're not a fascist and you need a website, feel free to hit me up. But, like, the general thing is that, like,
so would you not take a fascist's money if they, like, paid you?
I would not help a fascist message, no.
What if they paid you twice as much? Like, how much does it cost? Come on, everything has a price.
Yeah, man. How much would you help?
How much is the fine for financial fraud?
Yeah, man.
I'm not gonna do it.
Up.
I'm not gonna do it at any cost. But the general vibe is, like, when he made this thing, he DFE'd his Twitter timeline because he had a lot of followers and he wanted to start this media company. And then he started posting pro Ron Paul, Dave Smith, Mike Rechtenwald, Spike Cohen, all this shit thing, probably from Dan Smots. And when he did this, he basically had then, or Dave Casey, who like was Rechtenwald's like fucking like anal dilator for a significant period of time. Like when he fucking did this thing, he started dissident media posting libertarian shit and jacking off the libertarian right, and now nothing but Trump. And when it comes down to it, when you realize what happened is they realized that they didn't like the organization that they were trying to hijack. And I do mean that because the people in charge of the Mises Caucus were trying to unseat delegates. They were trying to engage in lawfare so that they could, suppress people that they disagreed with by intellectual property suits and a bunch of other shit like that. They ejected Karen. They suppressed legitimate shit in Idaho. The one place where I think the Mises Caucus significantly got fucked in an unreasonable way is probably Wisconsin. But like the general vibe is they really tried to hijack the leadership anyway, the party, and a significant amount of the leadership that was born out of that, their endorsements, ended up being the cunts that have created the situation we're in now. Like we have fucking like I remember tweeting out this list of endorsements and pointing out, hey, some of these people are in rivaling caucuses. Like Ben Weir was one of the endorsements, if I remember correctly, and he was in Emo Caucus working with Toad and Jeremy Kaufman.
There's always been overlap, though.
Yeah, but like
they've always been very Mises adjacent.
But like the point is that like, they had that. They had Hannah Goodman and Hector Rus, who were actively campaigning on behalf of like Kennedy at the time. And I noticed all these like overlaps, all these little things, not just those, but more. And like, I noticed that their endorsement list was basically a panel of people who could help push their agenda. And then like I kept that in mind while watching what they were doing in Michigan, and the fact that they were basically kicking off people who were actually elected and forcing on people who were appointed by the Mises appointed board.
If I could interject with
Go.
the Michigan thing, because this is where I've seen exactly what everybody warned about and exactly what everybody's saying. I've seen it play out. Because when they first came in, because even when I took my break from the party, I still had my page. So I was watching what was going on and paying attention and watching the podcast. They were promising everything. And even they came in early, like Dan Ziemba, who is our secretary. He's been our secretary since 2019. 2019. Andrew got on the board in 2020, but like one is a secretary, one is a region rep. And they just were part of the party and working together with everyone. And then right around the Reno reset, the 2022 time, that's when they all of a sudden, and like people were agreeing with them. I was Mises friendly. Lots of people were, people they sued were Mises friendly and on boards with them. But they came in and all of a sudden flip-flopped. Reno happened. And when Reno happened, they managed to get old-time party members like James Hudler. He's been going to conventions since 1972. Like they brought people in that joined like 60 days before convention and took them to Reno. And it was crazy, like how the Mises Caucus just took over that last convention prior to Reno in the state, which pissed off a bunch of people and people were in shock. Then we had the two resignations at the top because of what happened at Reno, our chair, vice chair. Then Andrew came in and decided he needed to be king. And even though a majority of the people said you aren't going to be king, we need to elect a new king. No, he made himself king, and then the judicial committee, which was Mises Caucus, upheld that. Then we had the split, and the split originally started because people were like, okay, fine, we'll work with Andrew if we're going to deal with this JC, right? But then Andrew started kicking off all of the regional reps that were elected by their regional caucuses and replacing them with his people right there at the very beginning in 2023. And he just getting rid of them. That's when the split happened. That's when people were like, fuck you, we're just going to keep going like we were. We're going to ignore what the JC said and move on.
On what grounds?
That's when people got... But yeah, that's when people got
grounds that he used to remove them.
Oh, he just said that they weren't legally elected and he was going to appoint other people. And
But,
every
like,
time he
if they
appoints,
were voted on by your state affiliate, like how did he claim that they weren't legitimately elected?
because he's got a Mises Caucus JC and Jonathan Jacobs saying
Huh?
that everything he does is fair, and the LNC sued people and said this is that. So when you're sued, you just so that's what I'm saying. So like he was an installed dictator, and then yes, he did get elected because people gave up, and then when the elections came that one time, in 2023 later. But either way, what it comes down to is they sued people, they broke us up, they destroyed our state. And then even then, since then, we've had elections. I was elected in July of 2023. Other people were too, but he keeps getting rid of us and then putting his own people in. And every time he gets rid of somebody and puts his own people in, like Dave Canny, John Yannick, myself, he puts his own people in and doesn't even notice the districts, doesn't even let them know there's an opening. Just all of a sudden they're appointing someone. And that's how he manages to keep his board the way it is and do the thing. And that's what I'm saying. So we've seen it play out from these are good people, they're doing good things, to now they're evil tyrants that hide everything behind closed doors. None of us even know what's going on. Lots of us are blocked from even the Facebook page. I mean, it's crazy.
But you sat on the wrong side of the room, so it's really your fault.
I did sit on the wrong side of the room. And I talked to people that I've been friends with for decades and been on committees and done activism with for decades. That made me a horrible human because I couldn't hate them for that.
Well, it could be said that if you're not a horrible woman, then you're a horrible woman.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's that insider baseball with Michigan that shows you what's happened in every state. How they came in, they were doing the thing, and a lot of people were neutral and were like, yeah, they got some good points, and then they're not even doing none of that. They're not doing decentralized revolution. They're not every money that the Michigan board is putting into candidates is going into our Senate candidate downstate was barely became a member of the party like that day, basically.
Yeah, 2 minutes ago.
Dude from the Libertarian Institute or some shit.
Yeah,
a book
a
writer.
lot of parties now they altered their bylaws to have a seasoned, you have to be a seasoned rep or member or something to prevent that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what
it actually does make sense. Someone who has just joined is not going to know what they're doing.
Yeah, so and that's where all their money's going. They're barely giving to local candidates, but they spent $1,000 for 10 people to show up at a speech for this dude. And that's just the beginning of it. There's been so much more, and it's just so you're not even doing decentralized revolution. You're not even in none of the fucking things. They're spending money on election parties and all this mess, but we have candidates that aren't getting a dime, and it's
and Chase is the least
victory fund,
And Chase is the least funded libertarian candidate in history by the Libertarian Party because they're giving him, I think it's $0.4 million ever, and half of that is because they consistently insist that he's not taking the KVF money. But first off, if that turns out to be illegal, he'd be on the hook. And then second off, they're doing barely anything to actually bring him events or to do so there's and then Angela has the audacity to post a fucking email from the Mises Caucus jackoff chamber and telling people that oh, it's a decentralized revolution, look at our podcast, and having a podcast with the new chair of the Mises Caucus, Aaron Harris I think is his name, and she's talking with this guy about how he's going to a few pride parades and he's not talking to the people we want him to talk to, so he's not talking to anybody really, and he's talking to a shit ton of people.
The pride parade thing funny, they have a couple pictures of him at a pride parade. Is it and that's somehow incriminating?
Yeah,
as if he's not walking around decked out in rainbow all the time. Okay, he was at a fucking pride event,
right?
Okay.
Well, and
there's a picture of me dressed like that when my kid's school group was in the Syracuse Pride Parade. So,
yeah, and
it would be pretty funny if that got leaked to the Mises Caucus if I ever run for anything.
Yeah. Well, go.
Yeah, go ahead.
But were you gonna say something, Rose?
Oh, I was gonna say I feel the reason why I probably held out for so long and still continue to do so, is like New York is kind of a weird case because like our party, for the most part, everyone gets along, but it's kind of a dumpster fire of very milquetoast, maybe slightly less government statist type libertarians. And the whole thing, there were some issues with organization. Like when I first joined it, the Mises Caucus was one of the only factions that actually operated with any degree of organization. I still see this all the time. Like people want to get involved and they have no idea like how to do so, and no one can point them in the right direction. Like I joined because I joined through the Mises Caucus, and like I have this group of people who have been in the party for long enough that they can show me, like, for example, how to run for state committee, how to run for various positions. So like, yeah, I think the Mises Caucus, as far as state chapters go, it's a very your mileage may vary sort of situation. Like some state affiliates or state chapters were very good. Others, yeah, you end up with situations like the one in Michigan.
Well, if there's non-corrupt Mises Caucus institutions that want to come on the show, they're free too. Because it'd certainly be good to get some like balance up in this bitch. But like, the ultimate. What?
I have told them this. I have tried to explain to them that, yeah, they need to be willing to talk to haters if they want to get their message out there. And if they're so certain that they're correct, they should not be afraid to talk to people who disagree with them.
Yeah. No.
They shouldn't definitely be wishing violence on.
Not that we would know that that's happening at all. No, nobody would do that.
Yeah, wouldn't that be terrible if someone was saying that, like, yeah, they think that violence should happen to people who disagree with them?
Yeah.
Especially if they're, like, high up on the libertarian totem pole.
No, there's
suggestion, though. I do have a suggestion.
What? Go. Why is your head like
Oh.
tiny though? You need to sit up. You can talk with your chest. You can have some dignity, Kareem.
Lightweight.
Yeah, you're Ansend man and Sindistan.
Yeah.
You're Union man, okay?
Yeah, I'm Union Man. But decentralized. I'm the cool Chomsky dude that gives
Union
you
Man
like,
sounds like one of those like obnoxious like like Schoolhouse Rock style, like you see the Union Man fly in from the side of the screen and he's like gonna go like help organize workers and they're gonna go fill out forms in a room and that's gonna be the radical action, but they'll do it to like vaguely blues kind of disco music, and so they'll be like cool and hip, yo.
I'd watch that.
we should remake those with the CMT FAI. Like, all right, we're not filling out forms. We're fighting Francisco Franco.
I didn't like the interview either. Go ahead.
Anyway.
Rose, when they tell you that they don't want to get onto a stream with haters because they're haters, maybe remind them of what everyone's been saying about the candidate. Oh, he wouldn't go on Tim Pool. He wouldn't go on Dave Smith. He wouldn't go on this one. Well, stand by your words.
Yep.
Get on a stream with a hater. If you want the candidate to get on a stream where he's going to be talked to like a piece of shit, come on in. And you won't be talked to like a piece of shit here, I don't think.
I've explained this to them before. I'm like, I don't have a problem getting along with most of these supposed haters. And I have encountered actual haters, okay? They do exist. Like, I've been called a Nazi more times than I can count. But, like, yeah, there are people who just irrationally hate anyone vaguely associated with the Mises Caucus. Okay, don't bother with them. But the problem, though, is that the definition of hater got stretched so far that now it just has been extended to anyone who vaguely criticizes anything the caucus does. Even if you can be a member of the caucus and actively, like, recruiting people to the caucus. And constructive criticism is if you offer any constructive criticism, you're at risk of being labeled a hater
and barred from meetings.
That's what my problem is.
Like, that happened here in Michigan. Justin and Shelly, who are still both barely on the board, they were high up in Michigan Mises, helping with all the things and like doing a lot of shit for Andrew. And as soon as they didn't agree with Michael Rechtenwald, they were ousted, hated, they're horrible people. You know.
Yeah. Real quick, Kareem, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, what I was going to say is this. Like, I was talking to the people in Mad Liberty, and they're like, okay, we want you for hair. I was talking to some people who are disillusioned in the Mises Caucus, and there's
Hair?
a lot. Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a position in Mad Liberty.
Oh, never mind, go. Yeah.
So, I'm not trying to exactly go for power, but starting to push up some of my influence, especially in Mises, in Mad Liberty, and other anarchist circles. I've been thinking, like, okay, I need to run for something in the Mises Caucus to turn it around, because I was very close to leaving.
Well,
And I
if you
said,
if you don't want to use power, just be a power bottom. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
You were about to make a dramatic exit. This is what we came here for.
All right.
Yeah, this is what we came in. But then I'm like, okay,
It's a
maybe
bait switch.
we need to have one more takeover. Just one more takeover. And actually make the Libertarian Party, I don't know, for the Libertarian Party. And if the candidate isn't a total degenerate or doing something bad, we help them. Hey, how about that? And how about we don't fund other parties? And how about we don't help other federal candidates? How about we don't focus on federal? We just do state and local. And that's it.
Or even if you do focus on federal, you do it in a way like
That isn't illegal.
In regards that, but also in regards to, like, we go to theories of anarchist organization in regards to federations. You have it where it's not necessarily centralized organizations, but you have it more like if there is a national party per se, it acts more as maybe, you know, some way of communicating, some way of allocating resources, a sort of little hub for communication between different state parties or between different local parties or between that kind of stuff, helping to focus more on organization and allocating funds where they're needed to. Which, another thing, when I was talking with the chair of the Libertarian Party of Hawaii, the main reason he cited for why his party decided to join in with the Kennedy Victory Fund, it was mainly money, because they didn't really get much of the resources they really needed. They haven't been able to get like much of the resources just because there has been decreasing funds, there has been decreasing membership of National Party.
Also, they're in Hawaii.
Like, the whole point of joining Kennedy Victory Fund was because they didn't have the money, and they needed the money to deal with the fucked up shit happening in Hawaii of the government using its overreach. And so we have that issue. He seems like a good man. He's like, he told me he has plans to like do it so other fundraising things independently that the Libertarian Party of Hawaii can done, so they no longer have to ever try to do something like that again. But the main thing is that wouldn't really be necessary if the fucking Libertarian Party would just do what it needs to do.
Exactly.
If there wasn't this much animosity between inside of each other, and focus on, look, you want to focus on making it more efficient, focus on making it more efficient. Make it so it's a little bit less bureaucracy, make it so there's greater organization, so funds are allocated to the state parties that need it, or you make it so, hey, you see what state parties can help each other by sending funds to each other to help out with anything. You help them organize amongst each other as a kind of collective, a kind of federation, as I was saying earlier. I'll just stop for
that.
Dana.
Sounds,
Dana can
you know,
say her piece.
That sounds entirely too much like a decentralized revolution.
Yeah.
Well, that's what my county party's been doing. Last meeting, we established a crypto wallet that we're all going to pay into to have a sort of like mutual aid fund. Next step is to get like start networking with other county parties, like get them all a pan.
Like an actual like federation. It's the decentralization is not just about balkanization, where you decrease into ever more smaller pieces and fragment more.
Yeah,
it's about it's about weaving a tapestry or a patchwork of these different organizations all working together to support each other, to help each other reach goals, whether it is mutual aid, whether it is political protest or direct action, all of that kind of stuff. And maybe if we want to have a decentralized revolution, you should have it where the people at the national level should be focusing less on their own well-being, on their own like incentives, on their own pet organizations or pet projects or pet issues or anything like that, and focus on ways that it can decentralize to support its constituents, whether it be the state parties, whether it be the local parties. Like, do stuff like that.
Yeah, and real quick, before I just give me 45 seconds, Dana. This is a good time to remind people that balkanization can often result in a greater level of centralization, because when you're no longer beholden to the rules of the previous central organization, you could have more power dedicated to the people at the top, because you would no longer be beholden to their things like constitutions or abolition of slavery or something like that, if you didn't have a federal government in your way. So there's a possibility that a national divorce could result in less freedom, and that's something that all these balkanization bitches need to remember. What were we going to say, Dana?
I
Okay,
get that. But
we have to get into a little bit of history of the party here.
Good.
Because if you go back into the old history, and this is why I did listen to Karen Ann and all that stuff, and I still do for her history shows that she used to do.
Yeah.
If you look into the history of the party, when we first started, they had to find enough state parties to make a national party and do the thing, right? And then we did the Dallas Accords in, I think, 1974. Everything started in 1972 in David Nolan's living room. And then it took a while for all these state parties to form and do the thing. And they did the things. I would have loved to have been part of this party in the 70s. They shared sheep on tax day. I mean, they did all kinds of shit. And we were never supposed to win the presidency. That was never a plan. But we needed a presidential candidate to get the word out. That was our soapbox. That's why they started a party. They were already doing activism. They were already burning draft cards and burning bras and all the things, protesting, doing all the stuff. Their main issues when they sat in Nolan's living room was blacks and whites getting married. Let the gay folk be gay and be free to be gay. In the drug war, in the wars. That's what it was.
These people sound like gay race communists. Sorry. We're going to have to expel them.
Anyway, that was their goal. To end those things.
Degeneracy.
And they knew that they needed to have a presidential candidate, and that presidential candidate needed to get just a very small percentage to get us that voice and that soapbox. Other than that, the states and the regions were to do whatever they were going to do, and they were all badass. And we've been badass over the years. A lot of badass shit happened in my state. But now we're not doing that anymore because there's so much hatred. And now all of a sudden we're supposed to win the presidency. We're supposed to get behind the winning dude. No, we were never supposed to win that. And we have to remember that. We were an activist organization where winning would have been a side effect. And now it's all about winning. David Nolan wrote a letter in 2009 to the party saying, dudes, principles, you got to stick with your principles. Because this isn't the first time we're split. This isn't the first time that some rogue group is coming and taking over this party of freedom.
Portland Purge.
But Cato, all the things, the Koch brothers, it's happened over and over because people need this win. They need this win. No, we need to change the hearts and minds of people so people can learn to be free and step away from the government, because we're never going to win it. Get a libertarian in office. What are they going to do? Fight gridlock and never get nothing done?
Reduce the age of consent.
They're going to ride a motorcade through
and so it's like we have to have the people. The people have to stand up. If you think Guy Fawkes, we all watch, Guy Fawkes Day, V for Vendetta. The people have to stand up. They never can change that government. They have to stand up and be free and tell the government to fuck off. And that's what the Libertarian Party was supposed to be. Tell the government to fuck off, not become part of the regime and kiss the ass of Trump so that you can free one dude and get one libertarian dude on cabinet.
Or as this guy says, fight for freedom.
Yeah, Samuel Konkin gave a really good speech about this back in the 70s about the whole relevancy thing and the watering down of the libertarian message in exchange for mainstream recognition. Like this whole this has all been done before.
All right. Well, how about this? we have a lot of libertarians outside the party that could actually influence the party and then push it back to the right way. There's dissident Mises. There's old me.
Yeah, that
we
was
could even
why
take
I
people
made this
from
caucus, because
Brett.
that was what they were supposed to do, or at least
Yeah.
so I thought. Like, they were supposed to undermine the power of the Koch-funded Beltway types. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't get any more Beltway though than eating dinner with Trump.
No,
No,
I think
it doesn't.
I think his belt doesn't do much anymore.
You know what's really Beltway? Having your luggage delivered to you. But what I think we can do is get some cool dudes from Jeremy Server, some people from Mad Liberty, dissident Mises people, and then what we need to do is get them in different positions. And I
Kama
think we can
Sutra.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting a takeover of the takeover?
Yeah, I'm suggesting one last takeover. Then we just focus on local
Just one more
elections.
takeover, bro.
One more takeover, bro.
It'll work this time.
And here's the
that
thing.
crying
Fast
guy
forward 6
meme.
months and I've become completely corrupt, and I'm sitting down and eating dinner with
Kamala
politicians
Harris.
for getting tons of money.
No. Here, actually, to be fair, before Kokesh went weird on Jeremy for chili dogs and being vegan, he had a good idea, which was just to win and then end the federal government, not to set policies, just to win and end the federal government. I'm like, Adam, I like that idea. The only problem is the federal government's not going to let you end the federal government. So how do you end the federal government? And then me and Heist were talking one day, and he said, like, look, Kareem, I just want to focus on mostly local races and some state races. I'm like, oh, why? And he said, what's easier, to nullify the feds and get all the way to the federal government and try and nullify them there, or to just win locally and nullify the feds from your hometown? Like, that's clear, your hometown. The problem is, I don't really feel we fell through on that, but I feel a combination of that idea would work. What would a combination be? Would be go, hey, I'm going to work county by county, piece by piece. And what would be the optimal thing to do would be to get an anarchist, whatever anarchist you can get, whether they be an ANCOM, whether they be an ANCAP, whether they be a mutualist, whether they be something in between, and raise money and help them win locally. You get enough anarchists to win locally and even change the constitution of that town, you do achieve pan-anarchy like Keith is saying, and you get what Jeremy wants, which is, hey, we're doing that gradually, so it's not just pulling states off of states and balkanization. And you also get different towns that can compete in different places so that you can see, okay, well, this group of people does this thing better, and these people here do this thing better, and here's what we can learn from this. And we already kind of have that. We have Appalachia doing good mutual aid networks. We have a lot of really good co-ops that I've seen, like Synergy Co-ops, Cooperation Tulsa, stuff like that. All we need to do is kind of expand that. And I think that's possible. And I don't think this is harmful. And honestly, I think it, Jeremy wouldn't like it. You can utilize AI if you want to write a libertarian constitution.
Why would you do that, though? And the question is, if they already suck asshole at understanding their bylaws and shit and their constitutions and how it all applies to whether or not actions are legal, why would you get it even worse by having something that isn't even human writing the thing, so that you don't even have them to ask about their intent? It makes zero sense.
It does make sense, because what I'm suggesting is not them do it. I'm suggesting we get people from your server, people from Liberty,
but people from my server generally don't like AI, so they probably wouldn't use that.
I'm not saying that they like
I
it. We
feel
don't
like
have to use
we're
AI.
going into the weeds a bit in regards to the AI thing.
Before we get
Forget
into
the
the
AI.
AI weeds,
AI has one very good use, and that's translating voice messages to text. Okay, it's very useful.
I wanted to address something Kareem said. So I've had this conversation with a bunch of Mises folk. Okay, so unless like they totally focus just in one area and they need to pick a nice little small area that's like rural, we have more power on the people side of that room. I don't know how many of you guys have actually gone in and fought your government over things and changed shit. I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back. A group of us did this in my county and in my township. And we all got together.
On what issue?
We didn't care.
On what issue? I'm curious.
Different issues. One of our main things we focused on was property rights. So we could get enough people together from all sides of the fence on property rights, and we focused on that mostly, but we were able to change other things. We had different, like in our city area of our county, which is just a small city. I mean, just anyway. So we had more rural, mostly rural, but cities. And the city people liked the zoning a little more than others, but we didn't like zoning. So we started fighting zoning, all the different things. They wanted to regulate fruit stands. They wanted to regulate camping in your yard, all these things. And we started fighting and fighting and fighting, and we kept winning. And we kept turning the hearts and minds of those people that were already elected. So the people that were already elected and on the planning and zoning are like, well, why are we doing this? Because we just kept hammering at them. Why are you doing this? Why do you care what somebody does in their own yard? Are they harming anyone? And they started changing the ordinances on their own. And we would just call people up. We would write people letters, people that, and we just kept going and kept going and kept hammering at them, and we won. And then at my own township level, we were able to end most of the county interference. You still have to deal with them some ways because of taxes and all that mess. But like we got rid of the dog catcher. If zoning ever starts again in our county, like for the rural areas, our township is like, go away. We've already made our own ordinance that you don't exist.
For anyone who needs to
from our side of the table, way easier. You get one or two people elected in a county and they got to fight those people. But if the people are not helping fight, that's what you got to do. You got to get your community. And that's what I told Mises folk. Have you gone to a county meeting? Have you started fighting any of this shit? Have you made sure that you're free in your own zone as a human citizen over here? But trying to get a guy elected to drain commissioner or this or that, well, that's not going to do shit.
Real quick, just real quick, because
I do know a few people who ran for local office and won. So like that was the original vision, and it did happen in some areas, some more than others, apparently.
Real quick, I'm just wondering what. And like I don't have a problem with this. I'm just wondering why specifically the dog catcher.
Oh, that was actually the township trustee. He did that without our even help because he was already like, well, we don't like this and that. The thing is where I live is the very, very corner of 3 counties. I live in this corner here.
Right.
We're in the middle of nowhere. We're the smallest township, very rural. And he figured if this dog catcher from Sheboygan County decided to come into some dude's yard to mess with his dog, that the dog catcher could probably get shot, and the dog catcher also gets to have a gun, and there could be a shootout over somebody's pit bull that somebody's neighbor didn't like. And he was like, that's pretty fucking stupid, and it costs us $500 a month. So he's like, I could save us $500, and the dog catcher doesn't get to come in anybody's yard in our township.
Also, it's funny that it's still funny to me that a place called Sheboygan exists. I maintain that sounds like a food. Rose.
Sheboygan.
Oh, right. I was gonna say, yeah. I'm trying to think. In this area, would getting rid of the dog catcher actually help or hurt? Because I feel like if there wasn't one, it would just be the cops that got called instead, and that would just end even more badly for people's dogs. So, yeah.
No, basically, there's not a lot of dog catcher need in our area. Like, there might be like, you could see it even on Facebook. If there's a dog hanging out, running down the road, the neighbors are all on Facebook or making phone calls. Hey, there's this dog. Whose dog is this? Let's help the dog. Or they grab the dog and bring the dog in. And
it's almost like people can organize and help their communities without the state. Can you imagine?
Shocking.
Well, that's what we do. Yeah. I'm pretty sure if you looked at the Sheboygan County Police, if they ever had to come to our area to help a dog, pretty sure not.
So, Kareem, what did you want to say?
So all I was going to say is Mises needs to help facilitate that process.
That was what they were supposed to do.
Yes. Yeah. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying anything new. Everything has been done already. The only thing I would inject is a little bit of syndicalist theory to that. That's it. Now, so Germany doesn't, get mad. Yes, you could write your own constitutions. That way, that ensures that ethnic minorities, trans people, people with, different religious beliefs are all good. And that's what I would suggest to defeat the empire. One county at a time. You just go there, you help a freedom person get elected from EXE, Mad Liberty, Mises, or just an anti-state type of guy, girl, whatever. And that's it. You help facilitate the issues they need. You help them in some cases write a constitution. And if we do that across enough places in the United States, I feel the state government, and on top of that, the federal government will eventually lose influence because they can't fight. They can do some things, but they can't fight, every town. That's how you got to beat them town by town. So to me, this pandering to Trump or pandering to the Democrats like they did before, we gotta help like masters, or we gotta do this, or we gotta hang out with Vivek, and
Generous of you to assume that she's pandering and she's not just a Trump supporter, and that's why she liked Rechtenwald, who already identified as deplorable for years.
I don't know.
That's kind of a different discussion. I was going to say, the federal government absolutely relies on the cooperation of state and local governments. So if we could just...
We just got to dismantle it from the bottom.
Exactly.
That's how every anarchist movement successfully worked that I've ever studied. I have not actually seen one anarchist movement, and I'm not saying it never existed because I haven't studied it all, but honestly, I could ask Keith. I've not seen one anarchist movement that worked from the top down. Oh, let's take over, the...
I can name one.
You're saying Leninism didn't bring about a stateless society like they promised?
They didn't even promise that.
We're supposed to take over the state and then dismantle the state.
I can name an action against the government that worked with the top down. I think JFK was in a convertible.
Yeah. Boom.
Anyway, go ahead.
RFK is going to get sad over that.
Oh no, we'll have to hear him cry in the same voice.
Oh god.
Yeah, literally.
What would that even sound like?
Mr. Arkin, what are you doing? Brain worms.
Yeah, right.
But there's never been a top-down actual revolution that I know. It's always been the bottom-up. Unless I know tankies are like, I did from the top down, but we're not trying to do Bolshevik. We're not trying to do communist or Pinochet
more like
type
bullshit, Vic. Got
Yeah. Fuck it.
From the circumference to the center.
I'm ashamed that I laughed at that.
It's the edgy California stuff. It grows on you like a fungus. John.
It's not edgy though. It was so stupid.
Yeah, right.
I think in regards to what's been said, if we want to frame it back in regards to the Libertarian Party, what it can do, I think there's two different ways to go about it, which I think the party could technically do both ways. You have one part that can focus on the more electoral part of it, the more electoral or political part of it, which is getting certain candidates elected or getting certain ballot initiatives on the ballot and signed. You can have that where one half party works on that, whether it's the local, state, or hell, even on the federal level. You have another part of the party that works more in regards to organizing mutual aid, organizing direct action, helping with community organization so that communities can be empowered and feel they have the power to do things either by themselves by creating an organization separate from the state that is able to like perform functions better than the state could, or by helping to have them, bring their voice and influence the state so that, like with Dana, when in regards to like, going to like the meetings, or that having the voice heard so that the
It works if you
officials
work it.
actually will listen. You can have, I believe, that variety. You can have that diversity of tactics within the party. It comes down to not as much bureaucratization in regards to it, allowing for what we would say like a sort of semi-spontaneous organization of people forming together to reach those interests, and then collaborating with each other, figuring stuff out. You can have it where you have these different variety of tactics being used in an efficient way, with basically just finding ways to allocate resources, finding ways to allocate manpower, doing all of that in a way that is collaborative and makes people practice their skills regarding leadership, or in regards to like autonomy and practicing autonomy, and B, help them in like helping each other and thus becoming more binded and more connected, not just with their neighbors, but maybe also with people who are in need, who are generally thought of as other, instead of just as normal, instead of just as like a person, like thinking of them more as a person. So I think I'm a bit rambling at this point, but
I used to say the same thing, and then that optimism was just completely smashed out of me.
Oh, that happens. That's the thing. I think we live and I think that's precisely why fascism is gaining a greater stronghold in our society today, because we are in a state of learned helplessness.
And because some libertarians are into choking.
I'm going to ignore that because I don't know what it is, and I'm pretty sure it's a joke. But in regards to, like, we are in a state of learned helplessness in which the older we grow, the more we have to deal with societal pressures. If we do not, it wears down on us because we can't continually fight on and on and on. We have to have some kind of energy in order to do that, because if not, we will be forming we will be organizing in a way that is apathetic to increase in government power, increase in domination over minorities, increase in oppression,
or antipathetic
people,
or empathetic to it. Like, either one of those would be worse than apathetic. I think a lot of people in this joint, frankly, get off to the thought of using government against their political opponents.
Yep.
That's another thing. I think, and I think I noted that down in, like, the article I wrote in regards to Trump and why libertarians are supporting him, even though fascistic tendencies. Because we're in a state of either A, the society creates us into learned helplessness and apathy, or B, the society creates a thing in which people are becoming more angry, people are becoming more reactive and reactionary, because, simply put, they're being given in a common like quote unquote enemy, whether it is Ukraine, whether it is Russia. And like, Ukraine and Russia are bad, of course, but there has to be like an understanding of, it's not simply that those countries are bad, but our guys are good. The whole fucking system's corrupt at the fucking core. We have to change everything. We have to go on a full fucking revolution and like change all that kind of crap. And it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of fighting. It requires, and in order to do that fighting, well, and I'm going to again cite Saul Alinsky, because if you want to like learn about organization in regards to getting people organized to fight, you learn from the best, and the best in this case is Saul Alinsky. You have to make it so that the current organization, which either allows for apathy against wrongdoing or support of wrongdoing because people want power and to feel empowered. You have to disrupt that organization in order to create a new organization for greater liberation, for greater human well-being, for greater freedom in general. You disorganize the old in order to organize the new. And so we have to be careful, and we have to try to be as optimistic as we can while still having enough energy in us to keep on fighting. And that's probably where community comes into play. When we have a good enough community and when we're able to find like-minded people, you create that bond that then allows you to move forward, to keep going, to keep questioning, to keep attacking the systems of domination and power that decides who lives, who dies, who is punished, who is rewarded, who is hurt, who is harmed, all that kind of stuff.
So, it's
Okay, but who is John Ponte? That's the
Yeah,
question.
who are you?
yeah, right.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah.
Yes, I would, but
It's
how about the
it's almost like we need to shake you up to break the structure up because blood still flows in the gutter. You know?
Yeah,
Anyway.
And we have to stop giving a shit about what people think about us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, during the entire cannabis battle in this little itty bitty town I live in, where there's lots of conservative Christian folk that still believe that the devil's lettuce is the devil's lettuce. And one of my dear friends is on the Chamber of Compromise, and she got bitched at every year for about 8 years when I put my libertarian candidate cannabis everything float down the parade route. Oh, there's marijuana on that float. And she's like, well, you know, it's a political thing and it is July 4th and we're supposed to be about liberty and freedom and she's allowed to have that float. Like literally she fought that for me and I didn't care about being a crazy cannabis lady. My name was all over the place. I worked at the local bar. People knew who the hell I was and it didn't fucking matter because I had the balls to do it. You just got to grow a pair of balls and do the damn thing. You know, fight for what you feel is right. If you feel like you should be able to have a tent in your fucking yard without the government fucking caring, then you go to the fucking county and you be like, dude, I brought 50 of my friends. There are people down the hallway to talk about how we should have a tent in our yard. I mean, that's the kind of shit. And you just gotta, if you're gonna fight the government, you gotta fight it. You gotta fight. You gotta not care.
It's true.
You gotta hand out that jury notification at courthouses and I've been threatened to go to jail as I'm still passing it out. I'm like, well, do I really want to go to jail today? Do I keep passing it out? Do I voluntarily quit as I pass out another one? If you pass out one more, you're going to jail. Are you really going to take me to jail for passing out this piece of paper? I mean, you just got to, you fight till you get to that comfort zone. The only reason I never wanted to go to jail for it was because I'm a smoker and I don't want to go to jail and have to cold turkey quit smoking, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you gotta find your comfort level and we can't just sit there and go, oh, I have this philosophy. Oh, I have this. Oh, I have this party. No, you got to do the thing. Do the thing.
do the thing.
Right.
Well, there's a symbiosis federation that Pink Antifa Slime credit told me about. And from my understanding, we already have something organized for that. So what we want to do probably is get like the party, Libertarian Party, to work with something like a symbiosis federation so we can start to create these, if you want to call them, dual power structures across the United States. So we don't even have to deal with the state. Granted, I haven't seen much of the symbiosis federation yet, but put a link to it in Skype. I almost said Twitter. So check that out. But the more we're able to set up our own co-ops, our own win in our own towns, the more we're able to set up something that is a direct competition to the state, I think the more we're going to find that we're going to win. And not only that, we're going to create something that is so effective that people won't want the state. So you don't have to go and convince people, oh, well, you know, vote for me, do this, do that, because they already see something that works. And we already have stuff that works really, all we have to do is organize it, in my opinion, and organize better than the state. And if we can do that, then yeah.
Well, so what I'll
And
do.
actually,
What I'll do is we're bellying up on 2 hours, and I did want it to be about that long today. And we'll be doing potentially more streams on like Sunday, but like the general so Sunday. Speaking of talking to haters, I'm
haters.
I'm doing another conversation with Jacob Winograd. He has vocally supported Trump and said he's going to vote for him. So I'm going to be in a debate with Jacob Winograd on his channel about whether or not Trump is good for liberty, hosted by Hody Johns. That'll be Sunday. So y'all
And
can
you
feel
can
free.
win that.
What?
You can win that. That'd be rad.
That sounds fun.
So I'll be doing that. And
I mean, it should be easily winnable if for
Yeah.
Libertarian.
What-
Real quickly, so everything we just talked about with government and how we can deal with government and be ballsy and do the thing, we can re-win the Libertarian Party and get away from this current corruption in the party the same damn way. We organize, we get together, we get ready. Grand Rapids is coming in 2026. Everybody's got their state shit. Here in Michigan, our state shit's in 2025. Try to win it back. Rebuild the party.
I mean,
That's what you got to do. If the same thing to fix this freaked up thing, you could do to fix the government freaked up thing. Maybe you just get your people together, fight, win your shit back, and try to get it back on that path.
right. Like, for all the complaints about the Mises takeover in 2022, like, the anti-Mises people showed up without any real plan. Like, I was honestly amazed by the fact that they had no real plan whatsoever to retake the party. I mean, I've said this before, like, if there were other caucuses that were more in line with my values, I'd be joining them, but, like, there really aren't. Like, so just putting that out there, if you want to retake the party in 2026, yeah, come up with, like, start coming up with ideas and start organizing. That's what the
Yeah, we
Mises-
need to.
That's how I mean, I know there are all these, like, crazy, stories about dark money and about delegates being busted. Okay, it's all bullshit. Like, the Mises Caucus won and they took over the party because people were energized and they showed up and they voted. Like, it can be done again if you're that unhappy with the current leadership. But
I really feel
you have
good.
to really organize and
We're gonna have a coup.
So
been
But
done.
fun
It can
coup.
be done a second time. It
What,
can be
Dana,
done
you
again. It's been done countless times already.
yeah, Dana, you
In
muted
some ways,
yourself.
there
man.
was some corruption with that. I mean,
All I'm asking is,
somehow a bunch of extra people showed up on Saturday, but on Friday, like in Michigan, we were short. We had, I think, at the largest, we had 19 people voting, and we have 37 delegates. Because of all the
Okay.
shenanigans that were played, all those delegates stayed home.
Oh, I
they
can
were-
imagine. Why
they
would
were-
you want to spend the money to travel to DC if you don't think you're gonna be able to do anything anyway? Like, I can imagine a lot of people probably didn't.
So that group of people that stayed home, those delegates, which was quite a few, there would be 17 delegates, 18 delegates that stayed home. That was 18 votes that would not have gone in Mises's favor because
Mhm.
we ran that convention in Grand Blanc for the nomination convention. So that was some of the shenanigans that people are talking about.
Right.
So there was 18 votes gone because they didn't want to drive to DC. I was almost one of those people. I was like, that's a long fucking drive and a lot of money to
Yeah,
not be seated.
the parking
so-
alone was ridiculous.
And that,
Like,
and that happened all over the place. So there
I
was
spent
corruption
like
in play.
$12 for a cup of really shitty coffee in the hotel lobby.
I think that the whole thing with the convention is kind of odd to me because you'd think we have technology now. That's the thing. We don't necessarily. This sort of idea of having the in-person convention is more of a ritual than really necessary per se.
Well, most state conventions will let you join via Zoom. Like, let's see, at the LPNY, I was present, like physically present at the LPNY spring convention. For the fall convention, yeah, I ended up just not going in person and just joined via Zoom. But yeah, I have mixed feelings actually about letting the national convention be joined via Zoom, because like I guess there is something to be said for having people there who like actually were dedicated enough they wanted to show up. But that's the thing, though, it's not really fair, because you can only really go if you have money and you have the ability to take time off of work, get childcare and pet care and everything else.
Right. I think when it comes to like at least the national convention, in regards to the state conventions, maybe that can be agreed upon with a different thing. But in regards to the national conventions, when it comes to like important elections or important bylaw things, why can't it not be that before the election, the state committees, the state affiliates or the state affiliates and the county affiliates, they have it so it's organized in a way they have their decisions made beforehand, just because so it makes it easier to like, hey, this many people voted for this delegate, or this many people voted for that, or not delegate, but this many people voted for this candidate, this many people voted for that candidate, or this many people said yes on this amendment, so on and so forth. When you get that figured out, and then you can send that to the national convention, you might need just one delegate per state necessarily. And granted, it's not perfect, of course. We saw it from the like last national convention where we had like 6 run-up elections for the presidential candidate. It's not perfect. It's going to have to be worked out.
Yes, I was there.
So I don't know how many people here have actually been to a national convention as a delegate. I've been to 2, well 3 if you count 2020, because there was 2 technically that year. If anybody here was there for 2020, the online version, there was no whipping. There was no communication unless you were on a stupid computer talking. You were sitting in your own kitchen or your own living room or whatever, and there was no verbal cues, no one at the mic. There were people at the mic, and it was weird. It was in a Zoom queue. So there's a very important thing to in-person things, whether it's county, local, like even our local, we refuse to have Zoom. We will not have Zoom. We will brave a snowstorm to have an in-person fucking meeting. We will. We won't do Zoom. We refuse. But in 2020, our state convention and the first part of the national was on Zoom, and it sucked. There were no booths. There was no camaraderie. There was no getting to see people and putting a face to a name and the personal contact. People nowadays forget that personal contact is very important, especially with whipping votes. You saw people walking through national with their signs. Vote Chase Oliver. Vote Lars.
That's absolutely fair. Yeah.
That's very important to a convention.
People are so much nicer in person too. Like it's way easier to shit talk the other members of your party. Like
right.
Yeah, when you're just
right,
like,
of course, and I absolutely understand that. I think more what I'm trying to get by is that if there is an issue in regards to financial gatekeeping, I think there can be ways to mitigate that through.
Well, like actually taking some of the funds and putting them towards helping your delegates get.
Actually, yeah, you could actually do that.
I'm very grateful.
Let's see.
They helped.
I should have pulled this up before. I should have pulled this up before to see how much the LNC pays the officers of the party or the at-large members. How much of that could be cut and reallocated for convention funding to have the delegates' transportation needs be paid for by the national party? Why don't they have it like that? Why don't they organize a way instead of paying? How much did they pay for that stupid fucking billboard? Excuse my French again. Like how much was that? Like it was what, a couple hundred, maybe like a couple thousand for a billboard. How much of that money could have been gone either to helping out like some affiliate that needed those funds, B, helping out maybe some local candidates or some like national candidates, C, putting it into like a reserve fund for maybe future conventions so that you have it where delegates can come without having to deal with the issues of paying for transportation, without having to deal with the issues of paying for food,
Paying to debate.
paying to
Oh God.
freaking have the why.
Because if you auction people's debate slots off, then it gives their fan base a FOMO, and those people will share around their fundraisers and get these people to hoe themselves out, so that then most of the money for the debate performances can go to the security and advertising for Trump.
Yeah, but I mean, it's why people like Toad didn't get to debate.
Aww, I didn't get to see his feet.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Okay, I'm not judging.
I am.
I am.
So, but the general thing.
I'm anti-shoe, so that was my least of my issues with Toad.
Well, the thing that I didn't like is the message that he was sending is that, like, first off, these are the same kinds of people who hate James Weeks, and they say, "Oh, he's such a scourge on the party. Why did he strip?"
I mean, he ran naked on the stage, so
he still his cock was covered.
technically true, yes, but you couldn't tell because like he was fat, so
Yeah, but that just means that you,
Yeah,
like,
but I'm fat.
I don't think so, actually. But either way, so like I think that there's still quite a bit to discuss about this subject, and a bit more probably, and I'm sure that there will be more to discuss between now and, let's say, next Tuesday. We'll pick this back up, and next Tuesday just so happens to be the day when everybody's going to jack off in a booth. So we can also provide election.
Oh, is that what we're doing? Okay. Glad
So
I
we-
got them
Yeah, I'm
down.
gonna poop in there.
So we can.
That's gonna be really awkward because like we do paper ballots, so like there's just like a bunch of tables next to each other, but there's no real privacy.
Well, yeah, but that's why you've got to, like, what you've got to do is you've got to, like, look them dead in the eye, and then if they look away first, they've established themselves as submissive, and you can continue your activities, and they're the ones who have to walk out before they can mark their ballot with their seed.
So therefore, my candidate should win because yeah, I maintained eye contact.
Just
on her.
Okay. Like, look at him concerningly, like, yeah, you really want to keep going like this?
What a juxtaposition from our previous discussion.
Hey, you know who's really good at voting? Mail-in voting? Uncle Ted.
Yeah,
He is
right.
really good.
And obviously we mean Theodore
the
Roosevelt.
only mail-in voting I'll support.
So,
Ah.
So, I think that this one nearing 2 hours, we'll call it for today, and we'll do closing statements. We'll do Kareem, John, Rose, and Dana. Thank you all for showing up, and I think that this is going to be like a real good like foundation for a discussion on Tuesday, if that works for y'all. That work for y'all?
Yeah.
So wait, are we doing a election night stream or not? Like
Yes.
Okay. That technically counts as an election night stream. Okay, yeah, I'll be there.
It's a stream on election night.
Yeah.
So technically it is, yes.
And I'll be sure to label the stream Erection Night coverage in the YouTube title so that I get demonetized.
I have a big weenie.
Kareem.
All right. Oh, handicap man? Handicap man.
No, that's my title. You showed up late and I claimed it and you haven't regained it yet.
Yeah, but I'm the union boss, so I do what I want. No one telling me.
You'll have to unionize your people and have them all vote to take back the ANCAP man and ANCAPistan title.
Heck yeah. I'll do a wildcat strike.
Kareem
We should
just
schedule a debate stream between the two of them to see who actually wins this title.
all right. Kareem just confirmed his persona. He's a wildcat. Closing statement.
Basically, the Libertarian Party should just support Libertarians. And if we want to work with people, it should be other third-party people. They're getting screwed over by the other two-party people. I'm just saying, that seems logical to me.
Is that it?
That's really it. Like, you can find me on Twitter,
Oh.
Cream6633, Anarch Unity. Check out Attack the System. And that's it. I did make my decision. I'm going to vote for Jill Stein. So that's it.
Yeah, usually you have like 8 minutes of closing statement. John.
No, actually, I figure I'll cut it short because, I kind of said what I wanted to say. Biggest thing is that I'm just getting tired of, hey, you put all this effort in the Libertarian Party, then they put effort into helping a second, one of the quote 2 and 2 parties, but to me it's a uniparty. And in my opinion, half of these people have the same donors or very similar donors, and that's one thing that people don't want to acknowledge. And that's kind of the funny thing. I said, okay, well, Trump's being nice to you. I told that to Bill Cox. I told that to Angela. I said, okay, yeah, Trump's going to be nice to you because here's how it works. They need your votes to win. They need your votes to win so they can utilize the Electoral College to get in power. But they need the voter money or they need the donor money to run the campaign. So how it works is you make a whole bunch of people like you. You say stuff that you like, and then the donors dictate what you do. Because if you give somebody, let's face it, 10, 50, 90, 100, $200 million, you want something in return. You're not just doing that. And when you win your election, you have to go do that. Generally, there's very few people, Thomas Massey, maybe Rand Paul, and Ron Paul, that are like immune to this. Most people are going to do what their donors want. That's the fact of it. And the Democrats and Republicans get plenty of donors. We don't need to help them. Let's work with libertarians. That's it.
John.
Well, to be honest, I think I've said much of what I wanted to say already. I think the main thing is do what you can to organize, do what you can to fight for what's right, do what you can to stay principled, and do what you can to create freedom and give power to the people. In regards to where you can find me, again, the main account that I help use is the one that I'm chief editor for, Liberty Centuries. You can find it us on Twitter at Liberty Centuries, or you can find us on Medium as the Liberty Centuries. We try to do what we can here. We're not always the most consistent with time, but we at least try to share what we can when we find it.
You should really upgrade that to a large at some point. Rose.
Right. I'm going to echo what a bunch of people have been saying recently. Start a county affiliate. If you're a member of the Libertarian Party, you already have a county affiliate, take over your county affiliate, reform it into a mutual aid society, like we've been doing here in New York. Otherwise, you all know where to find me by now. Don't have anything to promote right now, so good night, everyone. Thanks again for having me. I'll just toss it to the next person in line for closing statements.
Dana.
All right, I could be found on Facebook under Dana Carver or at Libertarians of Michigan Discussion, but that I admin. Totally, if you are going to be a libertarian, vote for libertarians or vote for liberty or work for liberty or do the damn thing for liberty. If you're helping the duopoly, they have parties, you can join them, and that would be great too. And stop corrupting this little party that just wants freedom and joy.
And what I'll say, in the spirit of similarly short closing statements, is the party has always, on some level, been corrupted by outside influences and by its own strictures and structures. Konkin was mentioning this in New Libertarian Manifesto real early on. And the party has never been a pure organization. So I'm not saying that we need to, MLPGA, right? What I am saying is that, like, if you're going to have an organization, because again, I'm an asshole, anarchist, mentally ill furry over here. I don't vote. And I sort of discouraged people from the process for a significant period of time. My modus here is to just tell people there is enough corruption. If you're allegedly trying to fight back against this corrupt machine, maybe there are certain things that you can't do. And for a significant amount of these people, they forget that part of the thing with anarchy, part of the thing with being a rebel against the, established order, is the existence of the baseline strictures that anarchy requires. Anarchy is not no rules. It's a thing that I constantly have to explain to people. It's a rule against rulers at the very baseline. And everything that's based on that foundation is just yet more that you're doing to not become the kinds of people you allegedly hate. And if you're trying to, have a libertarian movement, you cannot support those who threaten anyone's liberty, even if it's the liberty of somebody you don't like a migrant that lives down the street from you, or a trans person who went to a parade you don't like, or, any number of other people I could mention. It's been fucking hilarious to watch Mike Rechtenwald have his stupid tantrum little meltdown, midlife crisis bullshit, and pretend that he's somehow defending Western Christendom by supporting Nazi positions. And it's also been, fun to watch other people like Shane Hazel have similar meltdowns and all this other shit, and they all want to pretend that they're defending Christianity in the West. Motherfucker, Hitler, and the people like him banned Christianity. They outlawed your shit along with all the other shit. And Hitler was very fascinated with the occult, with pagan imagery, with Eastern religions. The swastika itself is a rebranded version of Hindu symbols of light and power. He was not a Western chauvinist. He was simply somebody who got enough power by uniting enough people on a platform of, we will get both of the most radical wings what they want, and that's how we'll get our power. And then he planned this all along. He eventually realized, partway through the planning process, that he was going to have to do something about them pesky revolutionaries, radicals, them people who actually might have something to say when he established total control over the country and didn't include them in the decision-making process. And he knew that if he wanted his global expansionist empire, he would need the military on his side. He would need the nationalist wing of the country on his side. National Socialism was always bullshit, because it was never socialism. He was always planning on, if he had to sacrifice any wing of the party, it'd be the socialist one. So he did the Rum Purge. He did the Night of the Long Knives. He purged an entire wing of his party so that he could maintain and isolate power, and so that he could have the people who were stronger in his estimation on his side, so that when he formed a military dictatorship that was bent on imperial expansion, he would have the people best suited to his needs on his side. And all he had to do was get the minorities out of the way. All he had to do is get the sick out of the way. All he had to do is get the left out of the way, get the wokes out of the way, get those people purged. And if that doesn't sound exactly familiar to the kinds of people we are dealing with an alliance of unity with right-wingers, dealing with the fact that, oh, maybe we can get some concessions for our more leftist causes. Maybe we can get some concessions for our radicalism. Maybe we can get some concessions as long as we do exactly what he says. Bend the knee, kiss the ring, lick the boot. It didn't work. It already didn't work. And he is using basically the same rhetoric for basically a similar end. And he is going, if he gets in power, to start a dictatorship. And if this is the alliance that you are running, you had better fucking hope that he doesn't do what he already did, and when people start going off program, fire the fuck out of them. This is a man who gained a huge amount of his reputation by saying, "You're fired." And he will fire you too. He will throw you under the bus. He will jettison your causes. He will not only kick you, but smear you so that you can never work in your circles again. He will destroy you. He will do this because he is a power-hungry, dictator-admiring fascist. And if that's the kind of person you can work with, you're no libertarian at all. And you will never smash the fucking state.